In this program, we profiled Brisbane trainer Robert Heathcote. You know, his story is an amazing one because he was never meant to be a horse trainer.
Gee, where does one start? I guess I fell into it by mistake, really. My brother and I, we decided to, form a union, I guess, and, thankfully my brother gave me the opportunity, which, I'm eternally thankful for, because quite frankly, it's very hard for any young trainer to start in this profession. And Wayne, because he was away so often, he asked me, he said, would you mind keeping an eye on my racing interests while I'm overseas? I then said to Wayne, I said, look, it doesn't make sense to me. You've got horses trained all over Australia and yet you're part owner of a stable in Brisbane. Why don't you have them all trained in Brisbane? And the good ones, send down to Melbourne, Sydney, and keep the slower ones for, the provincial areas or perhaps in Brisbane. But I didn't really understand it, but that seemed to make logic, business sense to me.
What did you know? How did you learn?
Out of books. Wayne, he looked at me and said, do you want to do it? And I said, well, there's a lot I don't know. And as I sit here now, there's still a lot I don't know. But I wanted to have a go at it. I bought a lot of books. I'm an avid reader, and I bought every book or encyclopedia I could get. I read Tommy Smith's book, Bart Cummings' book, Carl Nafzger, the great American trainer. I read his book back to front, How to Train a Racehorse, and because everybody's different. My second horse I saddled up, and to this day she's still one of my favourites, a little filly, little celestial dancer filly called Kaminka. She won on, I think it was February 9, 1997. Saintly just won the All Stakes down in Melbourne.
And that was your second runner?
My second runner.
Let's have a look at some of your successes. Chenna, tell me about Chenna.
Yeah, she was a fantastic horse to us. In fact, she's probably the reason I'm sitting here now talking to you. Went on and won over $330,000 and she won my first group race. And we've still got her today, and she's in foal to Flying Spur, and it's all looking rosy.
Fine Action, won the Summer Cup Group 3 race?
Yeah, Fine Action, owned by Warwick and Donna Carter. They're still stable clients and good friends of mine. And Barry Baldwin had that horse from a young age, and then Barry went to Macau, I think.
Yoruba.
Yeah, he was a super horse. He was a very, very good horse. He's probably in those days, probably the best one I put a saddle on.
The Kildare Kid.
Super horse. Very fond memories of Billy, as we all knew him as. In fact, again, great clients of mine, Rob McGowan, Thoroughbred Syndications. Rob was, with me from the early days, and he's still with me. And he's probably, one of the flagship horses of my career as a trainer.
Robert, your brother had the stables, and you've become his trainer. And then somewhere along the way, your brother decides he's had enough of racing. What happened?
Yeah, it was a difficult time, Alan, because Wayne was fast becoming disillusioned with Queensland racing. They were back in the days, I think, when prize money was $13,000 on a Saturday to win a race, and might have been $3,000 or $4,000 in the provincial races. So economically, it was proving pretty tough. And as I said, Wayne had horses down south, and he was disillusioned and getting to the stage where, even though I was his private trainer and his brother, it still cost money to run the business. Wages still had to be paid, the upkeep, the maintenance, the feed, and it was an expense that, I think was getting to the stage where it was wearing him a bit thin. And yeah, it was a tough time. And then one day I got the nod that a truck was coming to pick the horses up.
He just decided racing was enough. He just
woke
Wayne up and said that's it, and brought the truck around. Horses went. And so, what did you have to do? Did you have to then buy this property off your brother and continue on? What was your alternative?
I really didn't have an alternative. It was kind of, he made me an offer I couldn't refuse: buy the stables or move out. So if I wanted to stay in racing, I had to buy it. So it was straight to the bank manager and please help. I need a massive mortgage, and that was probably the toughest time financially in my life.
Since you've become a trainer, have you gone close to throwing it in?
Yeah, I guess it was back in 2001. I had a run-in with the stewards, and it's something that even prior to this story, I thought to myself, do I mention probably as tough a time as I've ever had in my life. Without going into the details, I basically trained a horse for a staff member, but the horse wasn't stabled in my stables. He would bring the horse to me 2 or 3 times a week, and it contravened the rules of racing, and I admit to that. When I first came into racing, I wasn't aware of the standing, shall we say, with which the stewards have in racing. And I was perhaps a little abrasive at times with the chief steward in those days, and I do feel that it was taken to a level that it shouldn't have been, and what should have been handled as a mistake, which it was. Ultimately, I was given 8 months disqualification. At appeal, the disqualification was overturned and I was given a massive fine, the highest fine in the history of Queensland racing.
Yeah, you better win a race at the weekend.
Well, I was fortunate because not long after that I did. I learned a lot from that. It's as simple as that. I broke the rules and I felt that they were a little bit harsh on me. In fact, very harsh on me. But you know, certainly I tone my opinions down a lot now and do the job and try not to break the rules.
Where do you see yourself 5 years from now? What do you think's going to happen with the race courses and amalgamations and all the rest of it? Have you got a thought on it?
Yeah, I've got a thought on it. I've had a lot of thoughts on it, and probably the first couple of years I was in the racing industry, I aired my thoughts perhaps a little bit too liberally, and you know, I rubbed shoulders the wrong way with a few of the administrators in racing. The way racing's run now compared to the way it was run, the old Queensland Principal Club, which was made up of the chairman of all of the various racing clubs and associations within Queensland, it was impossible for us to progress. Now, to answer your question, where are we going in the next 5 years? I think doing nothing is not, you know, it's not an issue. We have to do something, and at the moment it seems to be the ball just keeps getting belted back between the three parties, and it's a shame. And maybe the metropolitan situation might get sorted out when something else happens at the Gold Coast or Caloundra. So maybe it might take a massive shake like that to finally wake these two committees up that we have to do something, because doing nothing is not a solution.